If a man shows up strong in the beginning and then starts dodging anything real the moment feelings enter the room, that is not bad timing. And it is not in your head. Emotionally unavailable men tell you who they are early. They just hope you're too flattered or too hopeful to believe them. At first, he's easy. He replies fast. He remembers small details you told him. He says things like, "I haven't clicked with someone like this in a long time." He hints at seeing you again before the first date is even over. Then, something small happens that makes this feel a bit more real. Maybe you mention that you're not interested in casual. You want something honest. Maybe you ask one simple question about what he's looking for. Maybe you share a bit more about your past and how you don't want games. Maybe you talk about seeing each other more regularly instead of whenever. That's when the air changes. Messages slow down. He starts saying he's crazy busy. Plans become vague. He jokes about being bad at relationships or emotionally weird, and you're not sure if he's serious. And instead of thinking, "He's showing me his limit," you turn it on yourself. Did I say too much too soon? Did I scare him off by being clear? Should I have acted more chill? Am I asking for too much for this early on? There's something important you keep missing. You did not ruin anything by wanting honesty from the start. You did not push him away by saying you're not built for half-hearted connections. What happened is simple. The moment this started to point toward real responsibility, he hit his wall and pulled his energy back. That is what emotionally unavailable men do. They show interest early, then retreat as soon as depth enters the room. If you don't learn to recognize this pattern early, you will keep giving months of your life to men who revealed their limit in the first few weeks. Let's look at what he actually does, not what you hope it means. He still texts you, but it's not the same. Before, he would start conversations. Now he mostly replies. Short, dry, hours later. Before, he'd ask about your day. Now, if you tell him something important, he reacts with an emoji or one lazy line. He used to plan. Let's see each other Friday. Next week, we should try that restaurant you mentioned. Now it's, we should hang out sometime. Yeah, we'll figure something out. But nothing concrete ever follows. You notice he's still active online. He watches your stories. He likes a photo. Maybe he throws in a "Hey stranger" message after going quiet for a few days. That "Hey stranger" is not effort. It's maintenance. It's him keeping you warm without giving you anything solid. And look at what you start doing. You reread old messages to check if you were too direct. You type and delete long texts because you don't want to come off needy. You accept last-minute plans because, at least he wants to see me. You tell yourself he's just stressed, just busy, just tired, just going through something. You lower your standards in real time while he lowers his effort. Sometimes he'll pull you close again just when you start to detach. A sudden sweet message. A nice date where he's present again. A random call where he opens up a little more than usual. You feel relief? You tell yourself, "See, I was overthinking. He does care." Then, right after that high, he disappears into his half-available mode again. Here's the hard truth. A man who is serious about you does not create this much confusion. He doesn't show you one version of himself when it's light and easy, and another version when things ask for consistency. What you are seeing is not random. It's how an emotionally unavailable man buys the benefits of closeness without paying the price of responsibility. Now the question is why? Why does he do just enough to keep you there and pull back the second it feels like more? Men like this want the feeling of connection without the weight of it. He loves the rush at the start, the flirting, the validation that a smart, attractive woman is into him, the freedom to enjoy you without any real expectation on his side. In the beginning, there's no real risk for him. He can say sweet things. He can be present. He can show you his best self. Because nothing is demanded of him yet. The moment it stops being just fun and starts to hint at responsibility, his energy drops. Not because you did something wrong, but because now his words and his actions would have to line up. If he keeps the same level of attention, you will naturally expect more. More consistency, more honesty, more clarity about what this is. He doesn't want to be the bad guy. He doesn't want to say, "I just want something shallow," because that would make him look small. He also doesn't want to step up and give you something real, because that would require effort, presence, and the risk of real intimacy. So he chooses the middle. Just enough contact so you don't fully walk away. Not enough presence for you to feel secure. He avoids clear conversations because clear conversations create clear expectations. And clear expectations would expose the truth. He doesn't want to give more, even though he enjoys what he gets from you. Emotionally unavailable men are not always cold. Sometimes they are warm, but limited. They let their fear of responsibility be bigger than their desire to build something real. They'd rather keep you confused than be honest and lose access to you. That's the core of it. His comfort matters more to him than your clarity. But here is where it usually turns against you. Because if you don't understand this, you start telling yourself a very dangerous story about what his behavior means about you. Here's the danger. When a man like this pulls back, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel judged. You start thinking, if I were more relaxed, he'd stay. If I were prettier, younger, more fun, he wouldn't hesitate. If I didn't bring up what I wanted, he wouldn't have gone cold. You turn his limits into proof that you are too much. But his emotional ceiling is not a review of your worth as a woman. It's a review of his capacity as a man. Read that again inside your own mind. His ceiling, his capacity, not your value. He did not pull back because you wanted honesty. He pulled back because he doesn't want to be responsible for how his behavior impacts you. He didn't slow down because you were boring. He slowed down because going deeper would require him to show up in ways he does not want to. You are not being punished for being honest about what you want. You are simply bumping into the edge of what he can or will give. Think about it. If a man is genuinely able and willing to connect, your clarity actually helps him. It makes his life easier. He knows where you stand. He can step in or step out. The only men who get scared by basic clarity are men who want the benefits of you without any demand to grow. You might also shame yourself for even liking him. How did I fall for this again? What's wrong with me that I keep picking men like this? There is nothing wrong with you for wanting connection. There is nothing wrong with you for enjoying his attention at the start. There is nothing wrong with you for hoping this one would be different. What hurts you is not that you care. What hurts you is that you keep making his behavior mean something dark about you. Every time he pulls away and you blame yourself, you train your mind to see yourself as the problem. So you try harder. You shrink more. You walk on eggshells around his limits. But his limits were there before you arrived. They'll be there after you leave. This is his unfinished work, not your defect. Once you stop making his walls a mirror of your worth, something else becomes very clear. You start to see why a man like this hooks you so deeply in the first place, and why it's so hard to walk away, even when you know he can't give you what you need. A man like this doesn't hook you because he's stable. He hooks you because he's inconsistent. If he were cold from the start, you wouldn't bother. What pulls you in is the mix. Warmth, then distance. Closeness, then confusion. You tasted what it's like when he shows up, how he looked at you, how he listened in the beginning, how his attention made you feel seen again after a long time of feeling invisible. So you hold on to that version of him. You keep reaching for the man from the first few weeks while you're dealing with the man from now. That gap between who he was and who he is now is where you get stuck. Every time he pulls away, you feel fear. Fear that you misread everything. Fear that you're about to lose yet another almost relationship. Fear that maybe you are, in fact, too much. Then he comes back with a sweet message, or a soft voice note, or a night where he's fully present again. That's when hope kicks in. You tell yourself, maybe he just needed time. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe if I'm more patient, it will go back to how it was. You start bending yourself to protect that hope. You delay your own needs. You stop bringing up what bothers you because you don't want to ruin the mood. You accept last-minute crumbs because they feel better than nothing. You convince yourself that asking for more would push him away, so you quietly take less. You adjust your schedule to his. You stay available even when he isn't. You answer fast even when he takes forever. You start managing his comfort instead of guarding your own. On the outside, it doesn't look like you're chasing him. You're not begging. You're not blowing up his phone. But inside, you are constantly negotiating with yourself. How long should I wait to reply so I don't look desperate? Maybe I won't mention that he canceled again. I'll just act cool this time. The cost of this is heavy. You are slowly teaching yourself that your needs are dangerous, that your standards are a risk, that your truth is something that has to be softened, delayed, or hidden if you want a man to stay. That's the real damage here. Not just the disappointment with him, but the way you start doubting your right to want more. And this is where it usually stops being about just this one man. Because if you look back, you'll probably notice this is not the first time you've done this dance. Different face, different story, same emotional script. You said it yourself. Different face, different story, same emotional script. This is the part that stings the most. Because if it was just this guy, you could shrug and move on. But it's not just him. He fits into a line of men who had a strong start, a soft middle, and a sharp drop the moment things became real. Think back. There was another man who was all over you at first. Good morning messages, late-night talks, future hints, then the slow fade when you needed clarity. Before him, maybe there was someone who swore he wasn't like other guys. He told you he respected you too much to play games. He said he wanted something meaningful one day. But when you tried to move from one day to now, he became confused, distant, or suddenly not ready. The details change. Their jobs, their hobbies, their ages. Some are more charming. Some are more broken. But the structure is the same. You open up. He leans in just enough to feel good. You start to hope. He hits his emotional limit. You blame yourself and try to adjust. That's the script. And as long as nothing changes in you, it will keep repeating. Not because you're cursed, not because all men are the same, but because your radar is tuned to a very specific frequency. You notice the men who give you crumbs of connection, and you start working for the rest. You overlook early signs because you're already invested in the potential. You trust intensity over consistency. You value how he makes you feel in the best moments, more than how he shows up in the hard, boring, inconvenient ones. Part of you still believes that if you just prove how loyal, patient, and understanding you are, a man will finally choose you properly. So you keep walking into situations where you have to prove yourself. Here's the truth you need to see. An emotionally unavailable man is not just a problem in your love life. He's a mirror of an old pattern inside you. A pattern where you work for love, where you earn attention, where you stay longer than you should, because leaving would feel like admitting that you weren't good enough to change the outcome. If you don't interrupt this pattern, your mind will continue to ignore the obvious signs. You'll keep explaining away the same behaviors. You'll keep saying, maybe this time is different, while the same story plays out. So we need to get very clear about those signs. The things he does, the things you feel, the red flags you keep stepping over because you want the story, not the reality. Let's name what you keep sensing and then explaining away. A man who is emotionally available is not confused about whether he wants to see you. He finds ways. He makes time. So when a man keeps you in the maybe zone, that's not mystery. That's a red flag. When he says things like, "I'm bad at texting," "I'm just going with the flow," "I'm not good at relationships," "I don't know what I want right now," and you're looking for something real, that's not cute honesty. That's a warning label. When he talks a lot about how much he likes you but avoids any real conversation about what he's looking for, that's a red flag. He loves the connection talk. He dodges the commitment talk. When he is affectionate in private but keeps you out of the rest of his life, that's a red flag. You don't meet friends. You're not part of his plans. You exist in a bubble that only appears when it suits him. When plans are last minute, random, and always on his terms, that's not spontaneity. That's him keeping control while you stay on standby. When he disappears emotionally after you share something vulnerable, or after you bring up how you feel, that's a red flag. A man who can only handle the fun parts but shuts down when it gets real is not ready for a relationship, no matter what he says. Now look at your side. You feel tight in your chest when you see his name pop up because you don't know which version of him you're about to get, the warm one or the distant one. You overthink your messages because you're scared of saying the wrong thing. You find yourself checking his online status, his likes, his stories, to guess where you stand instead of just knowing. You defend him to your friends. You say, "He's just busy. He's been hurt before. He needs time." Even when you know if your friend told you the same story, you'd tell her to run. You hide parts of the situation because you're embarrassed by how little you're actually getting. You tell people about the highs. You stay quiet about the lows. You cancel your own plans to fit into his random schedule. You keep your evenings open, just in case he decides he wants to see you. You feel more anxiety than peace, more doubt than safety, more questions than answers. Those are not small things. Those are your nervous system and your common sense trying to tell you the truth. This is not solid. Here's the confronting part. Every time you ignore these signs, you are not just giving him another chance. You are taking another piece of trust away from yourself. The cost of ignoring red flags is not just heartbreak later. It's the slow loss of self-respect now. And that's where the shift has to happen. Because the problem is no longer just his behavior. It's what you keep allowing yourself to live with. From here, it's not about changing him. It's about what quietly has to change in you. This is where the focus has to move from him to you. Not in a blaming way, in a responsible way. Because you can't control whether a man is emotionally available. You can only control how long you stay once you see that he isn't. Something has to change in what you allow at the start. First, you need a new rule for yourself. Confusion is not something you work harder to fix. Confusion is a sign to step back. If, early on, you already feel anxious, unsure, and like you have to decode him, that's not chemistry. That's your body telling you this is unstable. You cannot keep treating your own unease as a problem to solve in yourself. A man who is right for you will make you feel more grounded, not less. You also have to stop softening your truth just to keep a man comfortable. If you want something real, that needs to be clear from the beginning. Not in a dramatic speech, just in your normal, calm way. I'm not looking for casual. I'm interested in something honest and consistent. Then you watch what he does with that. If he starts to fade after you say that, you don't chase. You don't water it down. You don't come back later with, "I can be chill too." You believe his reaction. You let his distance be his answer. Another quiet shift. Your time is not open by default. You stop waiting around in case he decides to show up. If he messages last minute and you're free but you feel disrespected by the pattern, you're allowed to say, "No, that doesn't work for me," even if you technically have nothing else planned. You begin to act like your time is valuable, even when nobody else is watching. You also need a new minimum standard for early behavior. A man's words and actions have to match. If he talks big but shows up small, you believe the small. You don't build a future in your head from what he says on his best day. You decide based on how he behaves on average. Consistency becomes more important than intensity. Steady effort becomes more attractive than strong chemistry. You start asking yourself different questions. Not, "How can I keep him interested?" but, "How do I feel around him most of the time?" Not, "What if I lose him?" but, "What will it cost me to keep living in this confusion?" This isn't about playing games. No pretending to be busy. No acting cold to get him to chase. It's the opposite. It's about being so honest with yourself that you can't keep staying in places that hurt you. The change in you is quiet, but firm. If he's hot and then goes cold, you don't start proving yourself. You start observing. If your needs make him pull away, you don't shrink them. You recognize that he's not aligned with the life you actually want. If he shows you early that his ceiling is low, you don't try to raise it. You accept that this is his limit, and you decide whether you want that as your reality. You won't always leave perfectly. You might still feel the pull. You might still miss the good moments. But with this new standard, you won't ignore what you see. You won't turn on yourself to protect his comfort. From here on, the real question is simple and sharp. Knowing all of this, how do you want to live? Do you keep choosing the same pattern? Or do you choose yourself, even when it hurts in the short term? That's where everything narrows down into two paths, and only one of them protects your dignity. Here's what it really comes down to. Emotionally unavailable men are not a mystery. They show themselves early, fast start, good words, low follow-through, warmth when it's easy, distance when it matters. You've seen this enough times to know it's not an accident. From here, you have two paths. One path is the one you already know. You keep giving chances to men who hesitate about you. You keep explaining away the slow replies, the vague plans, the emotional distance. You keep shrinking your needs and calling it being understanding. You keep living in the space between his best moments and his actual consistency. You stay in the almost close, almost chosen, almost loved the way you need. The cost of that path is not just time. It's you. It's your softness turning into self-doubt. It's your standards turning into negotiation. It's your self-respect being traded piece by piece for a man who still isn't really there. The other path is harder at first, but cleaner. You start believing what men show you early. You stop arguing with their behavior. If a man pulls back when you are honest about what you want, you don't chase. If he gives you confusion instead of clarity, you don't keep investing. If you feel small, tense, or unsure most of the time around him, you don't call that chemistry anymore. You stop trying to be enough for men who are not prepared to be enough for you. You let some stories end quickly before you build a future in your head. You choose short-term pain over long-term erosion. You protect your dignity more than you protect a connection that keeps hurting you. There will still be lonely nights. There will still be moments you miss the good parts of these men. You're human. You're allowed to feel that. But underneath the ache, there is something stronger. The quiet, knowing that you did not abandon yourself to keep someone half present. That's the line now. No more turning on yourself to keep a man comfortable. No more calling your needs too much just because he is too limited. No more staying where you have to earn what should be given freely. You are allowed to want steady. You are allowed to want clear. You are allowed to walk away from anyone who makes you question your worth just because he has hit his limit. From this point on, let this be your boundary inside your own mind. If a man's presence costs me my peace and my self-respect, he is too expensive.